How many times have you looked at something in your life and instantly called it a disaster? A single moment, and somehow you already know how the story ends. Or at least, you think you do. It happens fast, almost automatic. No pause, no doubt. Just a quiet decision. This is bad. But what if that moment isn't what it seems at all? And how many of those so-called disasters quietly changed their meaning over time? What once felt like an ending returned as something else entirely. Not louder, just clearer. A turn you didn't expect. A blessing you couldn't recognize when it first arrived. The truth is, we decide too soon. A moment appears, and we rush to name it good or bad, win or loss. No space in between, but in that instant, we're only seeing a fraction. The rest hasn't had time to reveal itself yet. What feels like a loss today might already be leading somewhere else, quietly, out of sight, a door closing in front of you while something unseen begins to open. Not yet clear, but already in motion. But most of us don't wait long enough to see what comes next. We rush, we react, we decide too soon. The moment feels heavy, so we try to escape it, label it, close it, move on. Not knowing, the answer was still unfolding just beyond our patience. This is a story about a man who saw life differently. Not through certainty, but through patience. Not louder, not smarter, just steadier. A simple farmer, living far from noise and ambition, yet holding on to something most people lose: the quiet strength to wait and the rare courage to trust time itself. While everyone around him reacted quickly, celebrating when life seemed kind, collapsing when it turned he didn't follow. No rush, no extremes. Storm or sunlight, his response stayed the same. Calm, measured, almost unsettling, as if he saw something others couldn't quite grasp yet. And by the time his journey reached its end, everything became clear. Not all at once, but piece by piece, until life itself revealed what he had known all along, quietly, undeniably, proving in the end that he had been right. So stay with this story just a little longer. Don't rush past it, because somewhere along the way, something may shift quietly, almost unnoticed. And by the end, you might find yourself looking at everything that happens in your life a little differently. Long before any of this began, at the foot of low green hills, there was a village, small, distant, almost forgotten. Fields stretching gold under the sun, rivers whispering nearby, a place where life moved slowly, almost as if time itself had softened. Life there was simple, predictable. Days passed in the fields, evenings under old trees, voices low, familiar. But beneath that calm, there was an unspoken rule. Your worth was measured by what you owned. Among them lived a farmer. Nothing about him stood out at first glance. No wealth, no power, just a small home worn by time, where he lived quietly with his wife and their only son, working beside him each day. They didn't have much, just a small patch of land, an aging ox to pull the plow, a loyal dog watching through the night. But above all those small possessions, there was one thing they valued more than anything else: a horse. Strong, striking, almost proud in the way it stood its coat, catching the light, its eyes sharp, as if it understood more than it showed. He hadn't bought the horse. He had raised it slowly from the days it could barely stand. Over time, something changed. It was no longer just an animal. It stayed close. It listened. And without anyone saying it, it had become part of the family. What truly set the farmer apart wasn't what he owned, but how he faced life. When things shifted, good or bad, something in him remained untouched. No rush, no resistance, just a quiet stillness, as if he stood slightly outside the moment, watching it pass. And in every season, when the harvest was full or when the land gave nothing at all, he stayed the same. No pride in abundance, no despair in loss, just steady, as if neither gain nor hardship had the power to move him too far. Whenever something happened, good or bad, he would say the same quiet words. No hesitation, No change. Who knows what is good and what is bad? A pause. Only time will tell. It sounded simple, but there was something in it that most people never truly understood. The villagers could never quite understand him. His calm felt strange, unnatural even. Some watched in silence. Others whispered behind his back. A few called him wise, but most simply shook their heads, convinced he didn't see the world the way it truly was. One day, word of the horse traveled farther than the village itself, across roads, through passing traders, until it reached the ears of a wealthy merchant. Curious he came, and the moment he saw it, something in his eyes changed. He wanted it. He didn't hesitate. Right there in front of everyone, he made an offer, a heavy sack of gold coins, enough to change everything, enough to turn a quiet life into something else entirely. And suddenly, every eye in the village was watching. The villagers gathered closer, voices rising in quiet excitement, eyes fixed on the gold. "This is it?" some whispered. He'd be a fool to refuse. You could feel it, the pressure building, subtle but heavy, as if the whole village had already decided what he should do. But the farmer only smiled and gently shook his head. No hesitation, no second thought. "This horse is not for sale," he said quietly. Not because of its value, but because to him it was never just a thing to trade. The voices lingered behind him, judgment, disbelief, quiet ridicule. But he didn't turn back, didn't argue. He simply walked away back to his field, hands to the soil, as if nothing had happened, as if the moment itself had already passed. And then, something changed. They searched everywhere, across the fields, along the riverbank, into the edges of the forest, calling, waiting, hoping, but nothing answered. The horse was gone. The villagers didn't take long. "Told you," they said. "He lost everything." This time their voices carried certainty, as if the story had finally made sense to them. That evening the weight finally settled in. The son sat quietly beside the empty stable, eyes, lowered voice unsteady. "It's gone," he whispered. "Not just the horse, but something more. Something that had always been there." Until suddenly it wasn't. The farmer listened, then spoke softly. "Don't be so quick. No urgency, no fear." Just a quiet pause between his words, as if what had happened meant less than what it might still become. About a week later, before the morning fully broke, something stirred. A distant sound. Hooves. The son stepped outside, then froze. There it was. The horse had returned, standing in the mist, as if it had never truly been gone. But it hadn't come back alone. Behind it, shapes moved through the fog, one then another, until there were 5. Wild horses, strong, untamed. They followed closely, almost willingly. And in that quiet morning, something impossible had just arrived at their door. The village stirred again, only this time the tone had changed. Voices that once mocked him now rose with admiration. "Lucky," they said. "Unbelievably lucky." Eyes filled with envy, with wonder, as if overnight the same man had become someone entirely different. But the farmer didn't celebrate, not even a smile of victory. He only looked at his son and said quietly, "Don't decide yet." A pause. Something unspoken lingered in the air, as if this moment too was only a piece of a much larger story. The next morning, eager and restless, the son chose the strongest of the wild horses. No hesitation. He climbed onto its back, and for a brief second, it felt like control. Then everything shifted. The horse surged, twisted violently, and the moment slipped out of his hands. He hit the ground hard. A sharp crack cut through the air, sudden, unmistakable. Pain followed instantly, flooding everything. His leg lay twisted beneath him, unmoving. For a moment, no one spoke, and then it settled in. This wasn't just a fall. Something had gone terribly wrong. The healer worked quickly, setting the bone, wrapping it tight. But his voice was low, careful. "It will take time," he said. A pause. "And even then, he may never walk the same again." The whispers returned, only sharper this time. "What did we say? Those horses brought nothing but trouble." Voices filled with certainty, almost relief. as if the story had corrected itself, turning what once looked like luck back into something far less kind. Lying still, the pain heavy in his body, the son looked at his father, eyes searching. Was this meant to happen? Did I do something wrong? The question came quietly, but it lingered. Not just about the fall, but about everything that had led to this moment. The farmer sat beside him, steady as ever. No urgency in his voice, no fear in his eyes. The same rain can flood, or it can nourish, he said quietly. A pause. Let it become what it becomes. Then, without warning, everything widened. Drums echoed, hooves thundered. A royal decree arrived, like a storm war had begun. One by one they were taken. Strong young men, sons, brothers, pulled from their homes with no choice, no time to prepare. Mothers cried out. Fathers stood frozen. The village changed overnight, as if something had been torn out of it, and nothing rushed in to replace it. And when the soldiers reached the farmer's home, they stopped. Their eyes fell on the boy, still broken, unmoving. A glance, a pause. This one is of no use. And just like that, they turned away. Months passed before the war finally loosened its grip, and when the soldiers returned, not all of them came back. Names were spoken in silence. Empty spaces filled every home. What once felt like duty had turned into loss, deep, permanent, and impossible to undo. And through it all, the farmer's son remained, not on a battlefield, not among the fallen, but at home, breathing, healing. The same injury that once felt like misfortune had quietly shielded him from something far worse, a fate that had taken so many others away. Sitting there watching everything unfold, something began to shift. Not suddenly, but slowly, piece by piece. What once felt random now seemed connected, as if each moment, good or bad, had been leading here all along. The son looked at his father, but this time something had changed. Not confusion, not doubt, understanding. All those moments, he said softly, I thought they were endings. A pause, but they were leading somewhere. I just couldn't see it then. The farmer nodded, slow and certain. Life doesn't show you everything at once, he said. It turns, it hides, it reveals. A quiet breath. What you see now is never the whole story. Not yet. So don't rush to judge a moment the second it arrives. What you see is only the surface, incomplete, still forming. Give it time. Let it unfold beyond what you can understand right now, because meaning often waits just outside your first reaction. Trust the path even when you can't see where it leads. Not everything is meant to make sense right away. Some roads feel uncertain, unfinished, but that doesn't mean they're wrong. It just means the destination hasn't revealed itself to you yet. Stay steady no matter what arrives. When life rises, don't lose yourself in it. When it falls, don't let it break you. Hold your ground in both. Because peace isn't found in what happens, but in how quietly you remain within it. Look back, just once. Loss became return. Return became risk. Risk became pain. And pain became protection. Nothing stood alone. Everything was leading, whether you could see it or not. Life doesn't move in straight lines. It bends. It shifts. It surprises you when you least expect it. What feels clear one moment turns uncertain the next. And just when you think you understand the path, it changes again, quietly reminding you how little you truly see. Think back, just for a moment. A time when everything seemed to fall apart, when it felt like the end of something you couldn't replace. It stayed with you, didn't it? That weight, that doubt. And yet, what came after may not have been what you expected at all. And then, somewhere down the line, things shifted. Not loudly, not all at once, but enough for you to see it differently. That moment you feared had quietly led you somewhere better than where you began. So when something unsettles you, pause. Not everything needs an answer right away. Let time move first, because what feels final in this moment may still be becoming something else. So, don't celebrate too quickly and don't fall apart too soon. What feels certain now rarely stays that way. Give it time and watch how it changes. There is a pattern beneath everything quiet, almost invisible. Every turn, every loss, every gain, part of something still unfolding. Now think about your own story. A moment that once felt like everything was falling apart, but didn't. What did it lead you to? Take a second, hold on to it, and if you feel it, share it. Here's the truth. Nothing arrives complete. Not the pain, not the joy. You're always seeing it in the middle, never the end. So don't decide too soon, because the meaning is still on its way.